Hi, welcome to Astrology for Game Traders. My name is Olga Morales. Now today I'm recording this at 8:52 a.m. on the 9th of December 2021 from Melbourne, Australia. And I often get questions or inquiries about, how is it possible that you can use astrology to trade the markets, okay? And so that's the whole enigma of WD GAN. And it's just the most, once you start getting into it, you'll just see how exciting it is and why so many people are interested in astro trading. It gives you an edge. In many ways because it's fantastic for timing and also for price levels, and that's what GAN is renowned for. So let's get started with this. I'm using Timing Solutions, one of the software I use. I use quite a few, but this has got lots of tools that other softwares don't. So each software has got its pros and cons, and I've been using Timing Solution for a long time, and there's lots of amazing tools in there. Okay, so this is one of them, and this is an easy way for me to show people that are a little bit skeptical about what you can do with astrology and trading, and also how amazing it is just watching it every day. So we've got a tool here. It's called, I don't want to click, I've already clicked on it, but it's this little T thing up here, and it means transits. And basically you can put it on your chart, and I'll show you what it is here. It's showing you the wheel for the day. Okay, so this is a zodiac wheel, the 360 wheel, and it's showing you if you're totally new to astrology, it just puts the planets wherever the planets are in terms of the zodiac. They're going to appear within this 360 degrees, and you can see all the zodiac signs, the 12 zodiac signs around the edge. So every day the harmonics or the relationships between all the planets is going to change, and they're called angles or aspects, and that's what we as astrologers need to know when we make our predictions and forecasting. So some aspects are more difficult. That's why they're in red. Okay, so these are square and an opposition. Opposition's 180, square is 90 degrees. And then we have trines and sextiles, which are usually in green. And this one particular one is a 120 degrees. And you can see them here. So it's got a transit panel here, and it'll tell you what's happening for the day. Now, for this particular one, I've put an orb of 2 degrees. Now, it depends what time frame you're using, how precise you want to be. Do you want to be within the minute, the hour? You would have to make that like probably 0 orb. So you want the exact time for the aspect to occur. But when we're looking at daily, I always want to know, anticipate what's coming up as well. They're called applying aspects. So for this example, I'm going to use 2 degrees, okay, so that we can see what's happening in here. Now, what it does, so this date here is on the 10th of October, and we can see that if I click on that, it's going to give me the date for this. But also, I can animate this, so it's really good to look. Now, why I've focused on the day, because it's a high, I wanted to know, okay, so why was it at a high? And you can see that on that day, we have this formation. This is called a T-square, okay? And the moon was involved. Now, often the moon becomes that last point that triggers an aspect between planets. So you can see the sun and Mars together opposite the moon at that particular time, and also forming a square to Pluto. So this is what I would call a hard day. And so you would anticipate, not always, but on a high chance that on those days that there might be some reaction the day after because of a hard aspect. And what this little tool does, it also puts the planetary price lines in for you. So that red line, red and orange, is actually saying that price got to the high. The high price was actually conjunct the sun and Mars. So you can see that line. Now, what you can do then is you can animate this. So if I animate for every day, and you can watch the actual aspects within the wheel changing, and as well as the price levels changing, because every day we're going to get a movement in the zodiac, especially the faster moving planets, and they're going to increase the level of price. Okay, so we need to be looking at that. as well. So what I will do is I will animate. This is on a daily. You can change this. So if you're doing intraday, you can put it to whatever you like. Okay, so because I'm just using a daily chart, I'm just going to animate every day and look at what's happening inside the 360 dial. Okay, so what happened here, we start, if I go back one day, we can start seeing that we got a red bar here, and on that day, the next day, so it changed from, it still had a bar, okay, that dark, the red bar, it's still got, now it's got a square, it's still got the square to Pluto, but now Saturn is also forming a square to the moon, okay, don't ignore the moon and your daily aspects as well, especially if it's making a hard aspect to an outer planet. So, and then we keep going. All right, so we go through and see, watch the dial in here and see how it changes every day. And so we've got a square there again. So that square's still happening with the Mars and Pluto. Okay, so now we get a bit of a trine here happening with the Mercury to the Moon. So that might have been just a short-term, bullish at time. So you'd have to do that on intraday. But now we've got a little bit more. It's still got a trine with Mars. So Mars is really good when we're looking at things. So that was a green bar on that day. Okay. Still, now sometimes, people ask, how do you know which aspect's going to take hold? Well, that can be difficult some days because you can get just as many, negatives as positives. So it's difficult to make a judgment on those days. And usually you get a flat day because it's like they're competing for one another. But and it takes a little bit of experience, and also if you do it all the time, you might get a bit of instinctual sort of judgment about what it might be. So let's keep going. Have a look at what happens. So this is like there's another low here, but you can see that once the lows are in, if you start seeing that there starts being some sextiles and trines, especially the moon. The moon in Cancer is trine Neptune, okay? Venus is trine Jupiter. They're like really nice aspects, okay? Now, you can learn, if you're just really new to this, I've got courses on my website, Astrology for Gain Traders. I teach right from the beginner's level. I teach you about aspects and to look at, and then this won't seem like a complete different language to you, okay? So you can see that we're preparing for some trine and sextile energy, the green, and it's also displayed in here. And then the next day, you can see that you've got a bit of a bullish green, 2 green days, okay? So you just keep going. It's like experimentation. And then let's have a look. Then there were 3 down days again, so 3 red days, and you can see that we can start getting more with the Mars, some Mars again, square Saturn. Now Saturn's one of the most, I suppose, in terms of energy, it stalls everything, sort of stops it. It's like a barrier, okay? It blocks energy. And often you'll see that it's one of the harder aspects. And so you can see the market turned on those 3 days. Now, depending what sort of orb, and with 3 degrees, no, sorry, I'm using 2. Obviously with the sun, that would be 2 days orb. With Mars, because it moves slower, it would be a little bit longer. But anyway, you have to judge with the orbs. But let's keep it to 2 because I think it works well for this. Okay, so there's 3 days down, and then we get a green bar, and look what happens. We've got a trine. I see the moon and also Mercury. Mercury was already trine to Jupiter, and we got the moon in Libra trine Saturn. See how it changes the energy before the square to Saturn blocks it. But with the trine, it's actually a building. The positive aspect of Saturn is stability and the building, okay? Long-term growth, slower but long-term. And so the moon was making a trine on that day, and also Mercury to Jupiter. So we've got a bullish bar. Now let's see if it changes, because next there's another 3 days after that are red. So what happens? Does it show us something? Oh yeah, look at that. On that day, we've got the sun opposite, okay, forming an opposition to Uranus. Now, remember I said the outer planets, if a faster-moving planet makes an aspect to an outer-moving planet, they're often stronger. If you had to make a judgment, what's, more powerful in terms of the greens and the reds. And you can see that price at that time was around the blue, so that would have been with the moon. Okay, so if I just click on that 633, you have to go down here. That will highlight, see it's highlighting when I pick it, it will highlight the planetary alignment. So it's actually more with the moon. Okay, and it's interesting, it's all this cluster here that's like a resistance level. This is what makes it so exciting. Okay, so if we keep going, we can see that, where are we? Okay, let's see, it starts getting bullish again. So we've got 3 bars up, quite bullish. And what happens here, we've got more trines. We've got Venus going into 0 Capricorn, trine Mars and Mercury, and also the moon trine Jupiter. So you can see that that positive energy is coming, and it continues. The moon is then still sextile Jupiter, and still happening because, we're allowing the 2-degree orb. And then we have this, the moon is conjunct Venus, and they're sextile those. So that's still coming in at that point. Now, what happens the next day? We get 2 red bars. Let's have a look. Changes. There's a bit of a change now. This is becoming stronger. The square's becoming stronger to Saturn because it's applying. See, Mars is 6 degrees and Saturn's 7, so it's getting closer to Saturn. So that's when you're saying, okay, well, that's going to take a stronger position rather than the sextiles, which are separating aspects. Okay, so then another red day too. So you can see that's formed. That's a lot stronger, and we can see the red in this panel too. And there you go. So you just keep going through that. So there's another opposition there. We can see that another red bar. Yeah, so see how amazing it can be. Looking at this, I know you can see that, and we had another, when it started going down, we had Mars opposite, forming opposition to Uranus, or Uranus, depending how you say it. And you can see another square forming here to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter just expands everything. It can be positive or negative. But we have got some nice energy in there, but as I said before, this would take control. Okay, so sometimes it is hard to judge. And you keep going, and you see there's a bit of a green coming in here. So, there was a day when we had 2 days of green bars again, and then it changes to red again. So it's got to be some red energy or hard aspects coming in. Let's have a look at that one when we got the really red bar here. So sometimes it doesn't happen on the exact day. Okay, so on the day before, okay, which, with the moon is probably not very accurate, but we had the moon opposite Saturn, okay, and we had this bar, I think, what's that called, a hammer, I know, the candles, and then the next day we had quite a large down bar, okay, so you can see that coming down, and then again it picks up again. So I hope you enjoy this because, oh yeah, let's look at that. Look at that aspect. Look at that formation. I forgot what that's called. That's got a name. Okay, a lot of these ones that come up, I mean, that's pretty cool. And you can see that we had 3 days of green. Look at that. It'd be great if you were born with that, actually. Okay, whoever was born at that time on that day. And you can see still there's green. We've still got green bars. So what happens when we get to there? Is there a red, anything happening red? Not quite. So sometimes other factors are involved. You don't get a hard aspect when we have these really red bars, okay? But see, it was forming before Mars square Jupiter. So it's like, you have to allow the orb into it. So this is where it gets a bit tricky. Some people say to me, Olga, it didn't happen that day. I said, yeah, well, it's timing. It can be so, depending how much you allow for an aspect to occur and what planets are involved. But, like Gan always said, if a turn happens in the week, if you want to get the exact day, or sometimes when I put up my dates, I put, 2 days, because I know that it's an orb. I need to allow for, especially outer planets, they need to apply and form this aspect. Sometimes then the moon comes along and gives you the exact time, which if you're intraday trading can do it very accurately. So I hope you've enjoyed that. That's what part of astro trading is about. Now, if you noticed, I didn't use a natal chart for Bitcoin. This is just purely transiting aspects for the day, which would obviously apply to everything. Okay, but it's good to know because most markets moved at the same time, at the same under the same aspects that are happening on a global level. Because remember, people don't say to me, how does it work? It works because the markets are controlled by people and emotions, and so it's like mass psychology, and the planets are very to do with electromagnetic fields. Our bodies are made up of 75% of water, and it has a strong pull on our emotions. So it's fear and greed. So when the planets are in hard aspect, which I showed you in red, you're more likely to be fearful and sell. And then the opposite, when it's green, everyone's feeling, oh yeah, this is cool, we can do it. I feel okay today. I feel optimistic. I'm going to buy. So that's it. And so you can see how it all works. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and thanks for listening.